Hi everyone, welcome back. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Malcolm. When a woman spends years calling you brother just to keep you at a safe distance, she never expects you actually to treat her like one. But the moment you start giving your time, care, and attention to someone else, she suddenly panics. And the strongest response you can give is to call her the same thing she called you, sister, and watch her realize a little too late that she pushed you away herself. I had known Violet for 6 years before all of this happened. When I introduced her to my girlfriend, Allison, I saw something shift on Violet's face. It was like watching a mask crack. For years, she had kept up this act of we're just friends, nothing more. But seeing someone else get the attention she always took for granted, that rattled her. We met when I was 26, and she was 25. We both worked at a marketing company in Portland. I was a graphic designer, and Violet worked in client services. We were put on the same project team, and we clicked almost immediately. Our friendship grew naturally. We grabbed coffee during breaks, sat together during team lunches, swapped memes all day, and had tons of inside jokes. It was a friendship that seemed meant to happen. In the first few months of knowing each other, Violet and I slowly became closer. We started hanging out outside of work. Sometimes we grabbed drinks after really stressful days. We texted about random things, funny videos, music, whatever was happening in our lives. We even made plans to try new restaurants or go to concerts together. Around month 3 or 4, Violet started calling me her brother. She would introduce me to people that way. Like, this is my brother. She texted things like, love you brother, or thanks for being the best brother I never had. I didn't question it. I thought that was just how she showed closeness. I assumed brother was her way of saying we were very close friends, but nothing romantic. But as time went on, our friendship became very one-sided emotionally. Violet leaned on me a lot. She called me late at night when she was upset. She wanted long talks about her feelings, her problems, and all the drama happening in her life. She always kept me updated on her relationships and every little detail about the guys she dated. Whenever something went wrong, I was the person she called. I listened, I comforted her, and I tried to help her make sense of everything. But when I needed support, it wasn't the same. If I had a problem, Violet didn't give me much time. She would say something quick like, I'm so sorry, and then switch the conversation back to herself. Sometimes she even seemed bored or distracted when I tried to share what was bothering me. Over the years, I helped her through several breakups. I dropped everything to answer her calls when she cried about some guy mistreating her. I drove across town late at night to pick her up when things fell apart. I spent hours listening to her talk about heartbreak and betrayal. She kept dating guys who were clearly wrong for her, men who didn't care about her, who used her, or who didn't match what she said she wanted in a partner. After each breakup, she said things like, why can't I find someone like you? Someone stable and kind who actually listens. Or, you're the only guy who doesn't complicate my life. Every other man makes things so hard. Comments like that gave me quick moments of hope. It made me wonder if she saw me as more than a friend. Maybe the whole brother thing was just her way of protecting herself, something she might let go of someday. But she always shut that door just as fast. After saying something nice, she always added, you're my brother. My safe place. I need you to stay that. This cycle went on for years. Violet would meet a new guy and fall for him fast. Every relationship felt intense, as if she were living in a movie. During those early honeymoon weeks, she would spend almost all her time with her new boyfriend and slowly drift away from me. But eventually, things always fell apart. The arguments would start, or the guy would turn out to be someone else. And when the relationship began to crumble, Violet would come back to me. She'd call late at night, show up at my place crying, or ask me to help her figure out what went wrong. We'd become close again, talking every day, laughing, hanging out, until she met the next guy. Then the whole pattern would repeat. I accepted it. I became the constant in her life, the person she always returned to when she needed stability. Her boyfriends changed all the time, but I was always there in the background, steady and reliable. By the 5th year of knowing Violet, I had let go of the idea that she might ever see me as more than a friend. I told myself the "you're like a brother to me" label was permanent. She didn't see me romantically, and I started to believe she never would. So I tried to move on. I started dating more seriously. I went out with a few girls, but none of those relationships lasted very long. Violet knew about these girls a little, but I never involved her in my love life the way she always involved me in hers. I didn't want her opinion or her drama affecting anything. By the 6th year, everything changed when I met Allison through some mutual friends at a dinner party. She worked as a social worker and had this calm, grounded energy that immediately pulled me in. She listened when people talked. She asked thoughtful questions. We talked that night for hours about work, life, family, and dreams. A week later, we started dating. Our relationship grew slowly and smoothly. Allison was consistent. She didn't play games. She communicated clearly and cared about building something meaningful. After years of watching Violet jump from one messy relationship to another, being with someone emotionally mature felt like a breath of fresh air. For the first time in a long time, I was the one having late-night conversations. I was the one excited to share my day. I finally felt what it was like to be with someone who made me feel like a priority, not a backup plan someone returned to only when everything else fell apart. After dating Allison for about 2 months and realizing things were getting serious, I decided it was time for her to meet Violet. It felt like the next step. Allison already knew that Violet was an important person in my life, and Violet knew I was seeing someone new. So I thought having them meet each other would be a normal, healthy thing to do. I set up a casual coffee meetup at a small cafe near my apartment with just the 3 of us sitting at a table, chatting about normal things. I wanted the vibe to be relaxed and friendly. On the outside, Violet acted polite. She said all the right things. She complimented Allison's outfit, asked her questions about her job, and smiled at the right moments. She behaved like she was happy for me. But I noticed subtle clues that hid what she really felt. At first, I didn't think too much about it. I assumed it was just the normal awkwardness that comes with 2 essential people in your life meeting for the first time. But over the next few weeks, things slowly began to change between Violet and me. I didn't reply to her texts as quickly anymore. Before, I would answer her messages within minutes. Now, it sometimes takes me hours to respond. I wasn't as available to her during her emotional emergencies. When she called crying or upset about something, I still listened, but I didn't stay on the phone for as long. I didn't rush over to her place the way I used to whenever she needed someone. More and more of my emotional energy went to Allison instead. The long late-night talks, the sharing of personal thoughts, the daily stories about my life, all the things I used to share with Violet were now being shared with my girlfriend. I also became less available in general. If Violet wanted to hang out on a night I had plans with Allison, I would choose the date instead. I prioritized time with my girlfriend over time with my friend. And slowly, without even meaning to, I shared fewer personal details with Violet. Things I would normally tell her right away now felt more usual to tell Allison first, or only tell Allison at all. None of this was a plan or a deliberate choice to pull away from Violet. It just happened naturally. When you're in a healthy relationship, your partner becomes the person you prioritize emotionally. The space Violet once filled in my life began to shift, making room for Allison instead. The first signs of tension appeared about a month after I introduced them. Violet started pointing out that I didn't call her as much as I used to. She said we didn't talk as much anymore and that something felt different between us. She would ask things like, "I feel like we're drifting, did I do something wrong?" Or, "Are you replacing me? Is this what happens when you get a girlfriend?" Or, "Allison probably hates me, right? She probably doesn't want you talking to me." Her messages changed. They stopped feeling casual and started feeling needy. She began asking for more reassurance than before. She started competing for my attention in ways that made me uncomfortable, because that wasn't how our friendship used to be. She would bring up old memories over and over. "Remember when we used to go to that taco place every Thursday? We should do that again." Or, "We don't hang out like we used to. I miss just us." This kind of talk became a pattern. Almost every conversation included some comment about how our friendship had changed or how she felt like she was losing me. What made it strange was the irony. For years, Violet had been the one keeping her distance. She was the one who created boundaries by calling me her brother. She was the one who pulled away whenever she got into a new relationship. Now suddenly, she was trying hard to close the distance I naturally created because I was prioritizing my actual romantic partner. After about 3 months of this, Violet began doing something that felt like she was competing with Allison for my attention. Not in an obvious, in-your-face way. It was more like small, subtle things that added up over time. She started complimenting me more than she ever had before. She commented on how I looked, what I wore to the office, and even my decisions, always in a very flattering way. She began asking for favors she never needed before. Could she borrow something? Could I help her move some furniture? Could I give her advice on something she usually handled on her own? Things she'd always done independently suddenly needed my help. She also sent long messages, almost like mini essays, clearly written to pull me into long conversations. She told detailed stories about her day. She asked questions that needed long replies. It was all designed to keep me talking. Then she started making small, subtle comments about Allison. Nothing openly mean, but definitely intentional. She would say something like, "Allison seems nice, but she doesn't really understand you like I do." Or, "We've known each other way longer." That history matters. Sometimes she even said things about priorities, like, "Do you still have time for the real people in your life? Or is everything about her now?" The message behind it was apparent. She believed she deserved priority because she had known me longer. I didn't fight with her. I didn't argue or respond to the competitive comments. I just kept the boundaries clear and calm. Whenever she became too clingy, I responded with, "Of course, sis." It was the same word she'd used for years, the word that had set the boundary between us. But now, when I used it, it hit differently. I could tell from the brief silence before she replied, or from how her tone changed afterward. The brother/sister label that once protected her comfort was now limiting her access to me. Every time I called her sis after she tried to act special or closer than she should be, she went quiet for a moment. I could almost feel the word pushing her back, creating distance she never expected when she first used it on me. Around the 6-month mark of my relationship with Allison, Violet asked if we could meet for coffee. She said it had to be just the two of us. She said she needed to talk. I agreed, and we met at one of the cafes where we spent time together months earlier. From the moment I sat down, Violet looked uncomfortable. She kept fidgeting and avoiding eye contact, like she didn't know how to start. It was clear she was nervous about whatever she wanted to say. Finally, she spoke. "I feel like you don't care anymore," she said quietly. "About me. About our friendship." She took a shaky breath, then continued, "I miss us. I miss how things used to be. I miss feeling like I matter to you." Then she added, "I hate that everything is changing. I hate that she gets more of you than I do." That last part made everything make sense. She didn't mean Allison got more romantic attention. That would obviously happen since Allison was my girlfriend. What bothered Violet was that Allison was now taking up more of my time, attention, and emotional energy. It was clear that Violet had never wanted me romantically. She had never been attracted to me. She had never seen me as a possible partner. But she had also never imagined losing her special place in my life. She thought that no matter who I dated, she would always stay at the center of my world. She believed her position as my closest friend would never change. Calling me her brother had always been her way of keeping things safe and non-romantic, while still maintaining all the emotional closeness. She had never thought about what would happen once I actually had a real partner, someone who naturally had to become the main priority. I looked at her across the table. She was distraught, and I felt for her. But I also clearly understood what this was really about. I said calmly, "For years, you've told me I'm like a brother to you, that we're just close friends, that our relationship should stay strictly platonic." I went on. "I accepted that. I lived by that. You were my closest friend, and I respected the boundaries you set." Then I added, "But Allison is my girlfriend. She's my partner. She comes first. That's how relationships work. I could tell from her face that she expected something very different from me. Maybe she thought I would promise her that nothing would change. Perhaps she hoped I would tell her she was still my number one person. She tried again, talking about our long history, how much we meant to each other, and how close we had always been. I agreed with everything she said. I told her she was important to me, and that I valued our friendship. But I also made the boundary very clear. You'll always be family to me, sis. But Allison comes first. That won't change. I watched her take that in. Saw the moment she realized she couldn't guilt me or pressure me back into giving her the emotional priority she once had. For years, she had called me her brother to avoid romantic complications. But now, when she suddenly wanted more of my attention, the same word she used to keep her distance had become the wall she couldn't climb over. She couldn't ask for a special place in my life without contradicting all the things she had insisted on for years. The conversation ended awkwardly. She wasn't happy, and she couldn't even express what she truly wanted without breaking her own rules. In the months after that serious talk, Violet still texted me and stayed in touch. But everything about the way she acted changed. She was more careful about what she asked me for. She didn't expect my full attention all the time anymore. She actually thanked me for making time for her, instead of treating my free time as something she automatically deserved. She stopped demanding quick replies or getting upset if I couldn't hang out right away. And when I chose to spend time with Allison or had other things to do, she didn't complain. She understood. We were still friends, but the whole dynamic between us shifted. Before, it felt like I was giving endless emotional support while she barely gave any back. Now, it felt more balanced. There were real boundaries, real respect. The strange part is that Violet treated me better once she realized she couldn't take me for granted anymore. Once she understood that she wasn't the center of my world. Once she saw that her place in my life was real, but no longer the most important. Looking back now, I can see what was going on during our entire friendship. I learned that someone can take advantage of your emotional support even if you're just friends. Violet relied on me to always be there for her, even though she didn't give the same support in return. She called me her brother, but really, that label allowed her to take more than she gave. I realized the friend zone can still be unfair. I was giving her the level of emotional care that a boyfriend might provide, even though she made it clear she didn't want anything romantic. That setup helped her, but left my own needs ignored. I learned that people freak out when they lose a level of attention they thought was permanent. Violet assumed nothing would ever change, no matter who else came into my life. Her panic didn't come from having romantic feelings. It came from losing the special treatment she was used to. I learned that using someone's own words to set boundaries works really well. Calling her sis after she had always called me brother reminded her of the limits she had chosen. The exact words she used to protect her comfort now protected my relationship with Allison. But the most important thing I learned is this. Putting your romantic partner first is not wrong. It's necessary. Allison deserved my time, effort, and emotional energy. If I had kept giving Violet the same level of attention, it would have been unfair to Allison and unhealthy for my relationship. Allison and I are still together, and we're even stronger now. We moved in together after dating for about 2 years, and living together has made us closer. Violet and I are still friends. She's actually dating someone new, and he seems like a good guy. I'm happy for her, but I'm not emotionally tied to her love life the way I used to be. She talks about her relationship with her boyfriend and her other friends now, instead of always coming to me. I didn't choose to push Violet away, and I didn't punish her for all the years the friendship felt one-sided. I just decided to focus on the woman I'm building a real future with. Because of that choice, the friendship naturally changed into something healthier and more manageable for both of us. Meeting Allison made everything clearer. It showed me that the emotional energy I kept giving Violet should actually be given to the person I'm romantically involved with. Someone who gives that same energy back and appreciates it. And Allison deserves that for me. She deserves my time, my attention, and my effort. She gets to be the most important person in that part of my life, the way a real partner should be. That's how healthy relationships work. It's about choosing wisely when different people need your emotional energy, and giving that energy to the person who's supposed to have it. Thanks for following this story to the end. Like and share the video with someone who would enjoy a story like this.